Hey, welcome to day one of your coaching. So today we're going to talk about protein. Now, in the fitness industry, you hear a lot about protein. It's like we refer to it as a magic macronutrient. You can't eat too much of it. Well, that's actually not true. You can definitely eat too much protein, but there is some truth to some of the stuff you may have heard in fitness or in fitness magazines, where they tell you to eat a high protein diet, to benefit you with your goals. And most people's goals revolve around either building muscle or burning body fat. Now, before I get into that, I do want to say protein is an essential macronutrient. So there's three macronutrients. You have proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. Proteins are essential. That means you have to eat proteins in order to survive. So it's just something you can't avoid. You can't go no protein diet like you can with like a no carb diet. Now, that being said, let's talk a little bit about protein and what it does for your body. Protein is needed to build and repair tissues in your body. And that includes your muscle. So if you're working out, your goal is to get some form of adaptation to where your body builds some muscle. And as a result of that, it speeds up your metabolism. And as a result of that, with a faster metabolism, it makes getting leaner, burning body fat a little bit easier. Well, protein is the nutrient that feeds all that. Now, studies will show that a high protein diet is more effective at getting your body to build muscle than a low or moderate protein diet. Now, the question is, how much protein is considered a high protein diet and how much protein is too much? They've actually done a lot of studies on this, quite a few in fact. And the studies are all pretty similar and conclusive in terms of their result. And what they show is that for relatively lean individuals, about 0.6 to 0.8 grams of protein per pound of body weight is the upper limit of the benefits that you'll get from a high protein diet. So what that means is if you eat more than, let's say, 0.6 to 0.8 grams of protein, you're not going to really get any more benefit from it. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad for you, but it does mean that you're not going to get any more benefit from it. So sometimes supplement companies will tell you to eat ungodly amounts of protein. I've seen some recommend as much as 1.5 to 2 grams per pound of body weight. There's no science to support any benefit in that, so we don't recommend that. A lot of people also, when I've trained people, I notice they'll get digestive issues when they eat that much protein. It also, these studies also show that although that's the upper limit for the benefits you may get from protein, that doesn't mean that you need to eat that much protein. I've had lots of clients get phenomenal results eating less than that, closer to maybe 0.4 grams of protein or 0.5 grams of protein per pound of body weight, or maybe even a little less. I've had vegan clients, in fact, do well with even lower amounts of protein. There seems to be an individual variance there, meaning at the end of the day, if you hear what I'm saying and you hear me saying 0.6 to 0.8 grams is what studies show, and then you aim for that and you're like, oh, I just don't feel good, my digestion doesn't feel good, then lower it a little bit and see what happens. And if you feel better with a little bit lower protein, then that's awesome. Now, great sources of protein, of course, animal sources of protein are probably the best sources. They're complete amino acid profiles like beef, chicken, eggs, fish, dairy, if you can tolerate it, is good. Protein supplements can be effective or at least can be very convenient at helping you hit your protein requirements or your protein targets. But they're not necessary. In fact, I'll recommend to you, try to get all of your macronutrient targets hit through food, through whole natural food. Now, if that's hard for you, then a protein powder may be convenient for you, may actually help you out. And I'll recommend that you go for a protein powder that's as natural as possible. Protein powders by nature are very processed. Obviously, it's a powder that tastes like chocolate or vanilla. That just contains protein, doesn't exist in nature. So it's processed just because it has to be turned into a powder. But really aim for one that's minimally processed, something that's flavored naturally and that doesn't have artificial sweeteners because those have been shown to negatively impact people's gut flora. It's a bacteria in your gut. So now, there's also some other things I want to tell you a little bit about protein as well. There's the fact that protein is very satiating. So when they test the macronutrients in terms of satiety, that's when you eat something and you feel full or satisfied, okay? Protein is the most satiating macronutrient. So if you eat a high protein diet, it'll probably reduce your appetite more than if you eat a high fat or especially a high carbohydrate diet. So this is important for those of you trying to get lean, which is probably most of you. That's the most common goal. If you eat a high protein diet, it'll help you control your appetite a little better. Protein also has a higher thermogenic effect than the other macronutrients. Now, what that means is eating more protein tends to promote a more calorie burning in the body than fats and carbohydrates. Now, this effect is small, so it's not like if you eat a lot of protein, all of a sudden you're burning way more calories. But when you compare, proteins, fats, and carbohydrates to each other, proteins definitely burn more calories. So a high protein diet, studies will show, will help you burn body fat, help you control your appetite, and help you build more muscle. And also remember, there's a lot of individual variance there. So just because I'm saying it's probably a good idea to try and eat a higher protein diet, again, aiming for that 0.6 to 0.8 grams of protein per body weight, per pound of body weight. If you don't feel good eating that much, don't do it. Always listen to your body. That's number one.